Hi, welcome back to the channel. As you can see, I'm not in the Joe Blog studio. I'm actually in Seattle. I'm at Pike Place Market, which is one of the big tourist areas. It's a bit early in the morning, so it isn't rammed with tourists right now, but I'm sure later on today it will be absolutely jam-packed. Now, the reason that I wanted to make this video is really to provide you with an update as to what's happening with the war in Iran and what the potential impact of this is on the global economy. Now, you might be thinking, oh, come on, surely that's all over now. Haven't seen much about it in the press. Aren't they in a ceasefire? Haven't we got a peace deal agreed? Well, unfortunately, everybody, we don't have a peace deal agreed. There isn't a formal ceasefire in place. There's no actual official fighting going on at the moment, but we are far from having a resolution on this situation. Now, the USA said on Friday that a peace deal is now in advanced stages and very close to being signed. Iran isn't quite on the same page as that. That's not what they're saying. They are saying that they have substantial demands that have to be met in order for the Strait of Hormuz to reopen. And those demands, I think, are going to be a big sticking point, because when you look at what Iran is actually looking for, I'm not sure that's what the USA wants to agree to. And also, we're still seeing reported attacks. So the Houthis, who are based in Yemen, and the reason why they're important is because they're an affiliate group from Iran. They're funded entirely by Iran, and they have the potential to close the strait that leads up to the Red Sea, and then the Suez Canal. So basically, all of the traffic that goes from Asia through to Europe could be closed down if the Houthis do decide to close that strait. And they have attacked a refinery in Saudi Arabia that produces 400,000 barrels of refined oil products every single day. So that's quite a significant refinery. And they've attacked it, it's on fire. The Saudis have confirmed that a drone hit the refinery and there was a fire, and they're now having to deal with that and try to reinstate it. So that's one incident. And also, we've had a report from the UAE that one of their ships has been attacked reportedly by an Iranian drone. So we're still seeing reported attacks. Apologies for the sun in the background, but it is a nice day, so I'm not really apologising for nice weather. So we're still seeing reported attacks. And in terms of this peace deal, of what is actually being proposed, well, Iran and Oman are negotiating this deal, and they're basically saying that Iran needs to have control of the strait. So basically, they would need to approve all vessels that are moving through the Strait of Hormuz in the future. Now, that is a fundamental deal breaker historically, because international waters are meant to be available to everybody. So it shouldn't be that the closest country to that waterway suddenly decides that it's in charge and wants to start charging fees. So Iran wants full control, and it's talking about fees of potentially between 5 and 7% of the value of the cargo. And when you're talking about, you know, cargoes of millions, tens of millions of dollars potentially, that is a huge amount of money. So if that's agreed, what that will do is push up the price of transporting anything that has to go through the Strait of Hormuz, because you're effectively paying a tax to Iran forever. Now, there are other reports of 3% that Oman are talking about, but either way, the principle is the same, that if you're agreeing that Iran now suddenly owns the Strait of Hormuz and everybody has to pay Iran to move ships through it, then a lot of cargoes are going to start thinking, well, maybe we go back to the old days and we go around the Cape of Good Hope, because even though it's going to take us 2 or 3 weeks longer, we don't have to pay the fees and we don't have to run the issue of Iran suddenly deciding it wants to double the fees or doesn't want to let our ship through, or whatever it might be. So we've got a number of issues that are on the table that are going to be a problem with regards to cargoes. But also what Iran is looking for is the lifting of all sanctions against Iran. Now, let's not forget, they've been in place since 1979. So these are some of the longest standing sanctions in the world. So Iran wants them fully lifted. It also wants compensation from the USA for all of the damage caused by all of the attacks that have taken place over the past 5 months, which that's going to be a significant number. That's going to be in the billions of dollars. So I'm not sure that the USA is going to be on board for giving billions of dollars to Iran to repair all of the damage that have been caused by those missiles. It also wants all of its frozen assets released. So it wants everything that the US and the rest of the world have seized given back to it. So that's going to be a significant amount of cash as well. So we've got a lot of different sticking points here that I'm not sure the US is going to agree to. Now, one of the other interesting reports recently is that the USA is running low on long-range missiles. So we've seen reports that because of the amount of missiles that have been deployed since the start of this conflict over the past 5 months, the US now needs to replenish its stocks. So there's a question as to, even if the US wanted to ramp up the campaign again and start more bombing, does it have the capability, does it have enough long-range missiles to be able to maintain this for the foreseeable future? So that throws an interesting question onto the topic of the debate, of the negotiations, doesn't it? Because it's one thing negotiating from a position of power, but if you've suddenly lost the ability to do what you were doing to cause all of the problems for Iran, then it weakens your negotiating point. Now, in terms of where we are on the price of oil at the moment, it's currently sitting at around $83 per barrel. So you might be thinking, well, that doesn't sound too bad because we were at $100 not that long ago. But let's not forget that we were at $60 per barrel at the start of 2026. And oil is a barometer of what's happening in the global economy. So basically, supply and demand determines the price of commodities. And oil's the biggest commodity in the world. Sorry, I'm looking a bit dark now because that sun's come back. I'll go this way. Oil is the biggest commodity in the world. It's the most in demand. And so when the global economy is doing really well, there's more demand for oil and therefore the price goes up. When the economy isn't doing as well, demand weakens and so the price comes down. The reason why it come down to $60 per barrel at the start of this year is because the global economy wasn't doing as well. So it was starting to slow down. So demand for oil was cooling and therefore the price came down to keep everything in check. The fact that oil is now sitting at $83 is artificial. It isn't because the global economy has started booming again and we've got strong demand. It's because of a lack of supply caused by the chokehold happening in the Strait of Hormuz. So that's why prices have gone up by more than 30% since the beginning of this year. And that's damaging to global growth because what it means is that oil is more expensive than it should be. Therefore, costs are higher for all companies and everybody because we all have to pay for oil in some shape or form, whether it's directly for fuel or indirectly because of transport costs or raw material costs or whatever it might be. So we're all paying more than we should be based on where the global economy is right now. And that's bad news. And $83 per barrel is artificially high. So that's not great news. If I just do a lovely sweep here, you can see the skyline of Seattle behind me here. And if I go all the way around, you can see the harbour and the wheel behind me here, one of the big tourist attractions in Seattle. So oil prices at $83 isn't very good for the global economy, but if things don't get agreed, then the price will go back up again, guaranteed. If we don't get a negotiated deal in the next week or so, the markets are assuming it's in the bag, that everything's gone back to normal. Stock markets are at record highs. Everybody's just carrying on as if nothing happened. But if a deal isn't signed and we don't have a long-lasting peace, then it's likely that oil prices will go up again. They'll go back up towards $90, could even go back towards $100. And that's going to further depress global growth. So I wanted to make this story really to put you in the picture, to make sure that you're aware that the deal isn't done. We don't have a negotiated peace. We don't have a long-lasting settlement between the USA, Israel, Iran, the Houthis, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman, all of the countries that are being affected by this conflict. Oil prices remain elevated. It doesn't look like there's an easy solution. There isn't anything in the negotiated terms that I've seen talking about Iran's nuclear program. And let's not forget that was why this conflict started, because the USA and Israel were convinced that Iran was close to making a nuclear weapon, that it had enriched enough uranium to be able to make a bomb, and therefore it wanted to close down all of Iran's capability. Iran believes that it's its sovereign right to keep enriching uranium because it wants to use it for nuclear power stations. And that is a fundamental problem because we don't have anything that's close to a middle ground agreement on that topic. And I think fundamentally, until we have something that all sides can sign up to, it looks impossible to get a resolution on this conflict. And I think what we're seeing is a bit of toing and froing and a bit of sort of posturing along the way. but it's difficult to see how we're going to get out of this with everybody coming, and feeling like they've got something that's going to last for the foreseeable future. So just wanted to make this video really to put you in the picture, bring you up to speed, tell you that unfortunately it isn't over. The war in Iran, whilst the fighting isn't raging at the moment, it's still sitting there in the background as a potential to start up at any time. Iran and the Houthis are continuing to affect traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, which should carry 20% of the world's oil and gas on a daily basis. It isn't carrying anything like that at the moment, more like 1% or less than 1%. So we have a problem with global oil and gas supplies. That's pushing up prices. That's going to cause more inflation. We've already seen some poor job figures coming out in the USA recently, and some adjustments to the previous couple of months as well. So things aren't quite going as well as it looked like they were in the US economy. The US is obviously the biggest economy in the world. The second biggest economy in the world, China, is also struggling at the moment. One of the reasons why oil prices haven't gone to $150 per barrel is because China stopped buying oil. It's been drawing down on its reserves, and also its demand is lower because the economy isn't growing as fast as it should be. They are two major warning signs. When the two biggest economies in the world aren't doing that well, that tells us that everybody else is going to get it as well. It's definitely going to feed through because they're the two biggest buyers. China and the USA are the two biggest buyers of the products that a lot of the rest of the world are producing. So when they start to slow down, that is definitely going to cause a slowdown for everybody else. So just want to bring you up to speed really that 2026 has been a tricky year so far. We're sort of almost 2/3 of the way through, 3/4 of the way through. The rest of the year is not looking too strong at the moment. I think we've got more issues to come. I think we're going to see oil prices staying artificially high for the rest of this year. That's going to cause problems for everybody. It's going to push up inflation. It's going to mean interest rates are higher than they should be for the level of growth that the global economy is achieving. All of that is bad news, and all of it will have to be paid for at some point down the road. So the overall summary of today's video is that the war in Iran isn't over. We don't have a lasting peace. It's difficult to see how that's going to be achieved, and until we get one, the global economy is definitely going to suffer. So hopefully you've enjoyed today's video. I've enjoyed seeing me here down at the harbour in Seattle. Have a look at this cruise ship. I don't know whether anybody goes on cruises, but I've got a cruise ship behind me here. Absolutely huge. Now these cruise ships, they obviously move around the world, and they turn up in places like Seattle, and maybe 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people get off that ship, all storm into the port, all go to the restaurants and bars. So it's great for the economy of the places where it's landing, but it's absolutely huge. I mean, I've never been on one. Drop me a comment if you're a cruiser, you like it, or if you don't like it. But yeah, it's always a bit weird for me seeing these massive floating hotels that move around the world and then just turn up and everybody comes to port and does all the things to do in Seattle in 5 hours and then goes to the next place. So anyway, that's a different topic. Maybe I'll make a video on that one day. Thank you for watching this video all the way through to the end. If you've liked what I said, then please give me a thumbs up. Please hit that hype symbol if you can. It's like a little diamondy swish thing alongside from the thumbs up. That will help promote this video. Please subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and I will see you again next time. I probably won't be in Seattle, but I might be somewhere else, so I'll see you then.